If you are an active duty service member ready to transition out of the military, a loving spouse seeking support and resources on how to cope with PTSD, or maybe a military brat ready to take the next steps to join the Air Force, or a veteran wanting to connect with others through shared experiences, then this is the right podcast for you. My name is Laura Figures, and this is the Freedom Isn't Free podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Laura Figures. First, thank you for joining me each and every single week as we continue to bring you inspiring stories or resources that address is freedom free. Today, I wanted to discuss some of the headlining news stories that peel back layers of race in the military. As you all may have heard, there was an incident that occurred in December of last year with Second Lieutenant Caron Nazario, where he was pulled over by police in Windsor, Virginia. He pulled into a gas station so he could stop in a well-lit area, but officers pulled him over claiming that he was trying to evade them. During the stop, the officers pulled their guns on Mr. Nazario, pepper sprayed him, and knocked him to the ground. Mr. Nazario, who identifies as being Black and Latino, has sued the department, claiming that officers have racially profiled him and threatened to kill him. He also claims that this may have hurt his future in his military career. This is a sad reality that some of our soldiers have and still face. Since the video of the incident occurred, one of the officers involved in the alleged attack, Joe Gutierrez, has been fired by his superiors. The town of Windsor prides itself in the small town charm and its community-wide respect of its police department. Now, due to this incident, they are saddened by what has been casted over the community, depicting a negative light. Rather than deflecting criticism, they want to address this and reach out to community stakeholders to engage in a dialogue and commit themselves to basically having additional discussions in the future. Now, this little bit concerns me. This incident happened in December, not in April. We are having these discussions due to Mr. Nazario suing the department. In the video, you can hear Mr. Nazario asking what is going on, what is happening. He's trying to get clarification from the police of why he was pulled over, where the police already had their weapons drawn, demanding him to get out of the car. Now, he knows his rights. He knows he does not have to get out of the car over a traffic stop. Why was it so hard for the police just to respond and say, Mr. Nazario, we're pulling you over because of your tags in your vehicle? Simple, trying to de-escalate the situation. However, the situation furthered where Mr. Nazario was pepper sprayed. At that point, he could not see to take off his seatbelt. He was afraid. He asked for assistance from the police officer because he felt as though if he reached inside of his vehicle and the police thought he was reaching for a gun, that was going to be his last day. Also, I might add, all of the rude, disgusting, vulgar remarks from this officer, let's not forget, lighting him up is the term that the officer used. Anybody would be afraid. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you, this is a different level of freedom isn't free. This shows you that a Black man, a Black and Latino man in our country that is fighting for our country is being targeted by the police. And I ask you again, is freedom free? Now, this next story shocked me. A Black soldier in the Maryland National Guard recalled about 5 years ago this event that happened to him. For 3 days, Sergeant Bruce Weaver hauled chains, running and falling behind the burden, being heckled by his instructors, while claiming it would remind him to follow the chain of command. He was stunned. He felt that this was subjected of some type of punishment used by enslavers. Now, Mr. Weaver spoke up for himself and told them that this was inappropriate punishment, that it was messing with him psychologically. Chains for Black people means something totally different. Now, this situation was not previously reported. However, there are several cases after years of delayed investigations and conflicting findings that Mr. Weaver's case is now being addressed, which represents a wider problem for the National Guard, where units in each of the states, territories, and DC operate with a great deal of autonomy and with little oversight of how various units respond to complaints of inappropriate conduct, um, such as allegations of racism, sexual harassment, assault. These issues have created a perfect storm that basically has contributed to Mr. Weaver's argument. The lack of oversight by Congress, little transparency into how states and territorial guard units operate, and the need for a uniform process for handling complaints of discrimination. The Army continues to struggle to attract and promote Black officers to career fields deemed a prerequisite for future senior positions. While white service members make up 69% of active duty overall, they represent more than 87% of the highest ranked officers. Those who have achieved leadership positions acknowledge their own struggles for equal treatment as Black officers. The resolution in this case, basically, the Bureau report criticized the Maryland National Guard for failing to track complaints from officer candidates about racial discrimination, point blank, period. It noted that previous classes of officer candidates had lodged military equal opportunity complaints regarding how minority candidates were treated and remained all white, basically, in the state of Maryland. Now, in this next story, it just happened on Monday, April the 12th. Jonathan Penland is a U.S. Army Sergeant First Class. He is now being investigated. Now, in this video, it shows Mr. Penland pushing, threatening, yelling, even breaking the cell phone of the young Black man. Now, this is in a neighborhood of Columbia, South Carolina. Basically, in the video, you can hear him telling the young Black man to leave the neighborhood, questioning him, why is he there? Now, Mr. Penland has been arrested as of yesterday morning at 8:30. He had got arrested. The incident happened on Monday. He has been arrested for allegedly assaulting the young Black man, but also, let's not forget, he has violated AR 600 20, AR 20 1, AR 27 10. I just want to go back. I want to go back to the video. Um, you can hear Mr. Pennington asking him, what is it that you're doing here? Keep walking. There's a difference between pushing you, aggressively approaching this young Black man, telling him, you better walk away. You walk away, you're talking to my wife right now. Mind you, he's blocking the young man every direction the young man takes. The young man was trying to walk away and de-escalate the situation. Now, granted, we don't know exactly what happened in this video. It does not show exactly why Mr. Penland confronted the young Black man on the sidewalk, but you can definitely hear the aggression in Mr. Penland's voice when talking to the young Black man, telling him to go away, telling him that you were trying to pick fights with other people in the neighborhood. Now, Mr. Penland has been a drill sergeant at Fort Jackson since 2009. The Fort Jackson Commanding General Milford Bagel Jr. has posted and announced that the video will be investigated. If he's found guilty, he could be facing up to 30 days in jail or a $500 fine. Do we think this is justice for his behavior? The real question is, Does this drill sergeant, Mr. Penland, does he represent what our current Army service member looks like? No, he doesn't. But this really, really disturbs the military community, and especially our brown and black soldiers who fight on the line, hand in hand combat with individuals like Mr. Penland. This case is still under investigation. We definitely need to keep close on the details as they come. Ladies and gentlemen, I just brought you 3 different pictures of race in the military. One being a second lieutenant in the military while being black, while being pulled over in Virginia, has shown that the police don't care if you're a member of the military or a beloved member of the community. They don't care if you're recording them. They don't even care if they're recording themselves, which is the crazier part. But I think the reason why they don't care is because they know they're going to get away with it. The other story of Mr. Weaver serving in the Maryland National Guard, him having to wear chains as a punishment, brought him flashbacks of slavery. And when he spoke up about what was happening, his voice was not heard. And lastly, with this young black man had to face a drill sergeant, Mr. Penland, in his face, as Mr. Penland's probably used to, jumping in someone's face, yelling at them, screaming at them, giving them commands, telling them what they need to do, is not how you operate in the civilian world. If that young man had did anything wrong, then the way to handle it was not to yell, threaten, scream, break his phone, aggressively antagonize this young black man. And thank God there was a video that his wife, Mr. Penland's wife, recorded. That is not the way that you talk to someone. That is not the way that you resolve issues by yelling at someone. It is a simple conversation. With these 3 newsworthy, highlighting America, race in the military, I think this is what it highlights. And Charlemagne the God said it the best, in my opinion. America is the most fake patriotic country in the world. Citizens of this country don't really love America. They love the idea of America, not the reality of America. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget that Black people were labeled as 3/5 of a human and were looked at as property, not as people. Systemic racism invaded every single institution in our country. Now, these acts are not random incidences. There is something underlying that we have to address. We have to come together and fix this, fix the root of this problem. This will continue if this is not addressed. When a soldier has to go on the battlefield, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, regardless of your gender, or your sexual orientation, ladies and gentlemen, we are there to fight together against the common enemy. But we cannot do that if we continue to have incidences like the ones I have highlighted that show there is some type of unconscious bias or racist mindsets in our military service members. It is unfortunate that we had to have this conversation today. It's very, very unfortunate. But it was on my heart to have these conversations because they continue every day. And the ones that I'm speaking up are just race in the military. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you one more time. Is freedom free? For those of you that are listening, as always, don't forget to thank a veteran for their service. I love hearing from you, my listeners, military heroes, veterans, spouses. Message me your stories and let your voice be heard. And while you're doing that, go inside the podcast app, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. This helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission by helping us provide a voice for our service members, then make sure you subscribe. It makes a difference by leaving a review. And remember to thank a veteran.